Hey there, and welcome. Today we're going to get into the physics of turning, and a pretty weird sensation I'm sure every single one of us has felt.
You know what I'm talking about, right? You're in a car, it takes a sharp turn, maybe a little too fast, and bam, you're getting smushed against the door. So what is that feeling? Well, it's not just some random sensation. It's actual physics playing out, and today we're going to break it all down. Let's dive in. So here's what we've got on tap. We'll start with that sideways push in the car. Then we'll get a solid definition of what's happening. We'll look at the math behind it all, check out a couple of wild examples, and then talk about why this whole thing really matters.
Okay, let's kick things off with section 1, the sideways push. We're going to start with that everyday feeling, being pushed in a turn, and use it to jump right into a really core concept in physics. So here's something that might mess with your head a little bit. This whole idea really challenges how we normally think about acceleration. We tend to think, oh, that's just speeding up or slowing down. But in physics, acceleration is any change in velocity. And here's the kicker. Velocity isn't just speed, it's speed and direction. So if you just change your direction, like you do when you turn a corner, you're accelerating. You are, even if that needle on the speedometer doesn't budge at all.
All right, so that acceleration you feel pushing you sideways, it actually has a name. Let's get into what it's called and really define it.
And here it is. We call it centripetal acceleration. Now, the most important part of this whole thing is the direction. It always, and I mean always, points toward the center of the circle you're moving along. Think about it. It's the acceleration that's constantly yanking you out of the straight line you want to travel in and forcing you to follow that curve instead. And the name itself is just perfect. It literally tells you everything. Centripetal basically means center-seeking. Centri for center, and petal comes from a Latin word meaning to seek. So this acceleration is always seeking the center. Simple as that.
So let's just nail down these key points. Your velocity, the direction you're actually moving at any instant, is pointing straight ahead, right along the curve. But this acceleration, it's pointing straight inward, toward the center of the turn. This means they're always at a perfect right angle, a 90-degree angle to each other. So remember, it's about changing direction, not always about changing your speed.
All right, time to get into the math a little bit. But hey, don't worry, we're not going to get bogged down in complex proofs. We're just going to walk through the really neat logic that gives us the formula for the center-seeking acceleration. The whole thing is actually based on some clever geometry. It's kind of cool. You can imagine two triangles. One is made by the radius lines of the circle you're turning in. The other is made by your velocity vectors as you turn. Turns out, those two triangles are similar. And once you know that, you can set up a simple relationship, do a tiny bit of algebra, and boom, you've solved for acceleration. It's actually a really elegant way to figure it out. And what you get from all that clever geometry is this key formula right here. The centripetal acceleration, we'll call it A sub c, is equal to your speed, v squared, all divided by the radius of the turn, r. It looks simple, but this little equation packs a huge punch. So let's really think about what this means when we are in a car. First off, the faster you go, if v gets bigger, the acceleration gets bigger. Makes sense, right? Go into a turn faster, you feel it more. Second, the sharper the turn, meaning a smaller radius, r, the bigger the acceleration. Again, totally intuitive. But here's the most important part, the part people miss. That relationship with speed is squared. And trust me, that v squared is a really big deal. Okay, let's do a quick little pop quiz here. Thinking about that v squared part of the formula, what do you think happens to that sideways push if you take the exact same turn, but you double your speed? Just take a second to think about it. Did you get it? It quadruples. Yep. It doesn't just double, it goes up by a factor of 4. And that is why taking a curve at, say, 100 kilometers an hour feels way, way more intense than taking it at 50. It's not just twice as hard, it's 4 times as hard. The physics scales up way faster than you'd think. Okay, now for the fun part. Let's actually use this formula. We're going to look at 2 completely different real-world situations, and you'll see just how powerful this one little idea really is. So, example number 1 is something we can all picture. A car driving along a pretty gentle curve on a highway. Let's say the radius of that curve is 500 meters, and we're moving at 25 meters per second. All we have to do is plug those numbers right into our formula, v squared divided by r. And what do we get? The acceleration comes out to 1.25 meters per second squared. Now, what does that number even mean? Well, let's compare it to gravity, which is about 9.8. This means that turn is pushing you sideways with about 13% of the force of gravity. You can definitely feel that. Okay, now let's jump from the highway to a science lab for our second example. We're talking about an ultracentrifuge. This is a machine they use to separate tiny things, like parts of a blood sample, by spinning them at absolutely insane speeds. We're going to look at a tiny spot just 7.5 centimeters from the center, spinning at a mind-boggling 75,000 revolutions per minute. And the result? Brace yourself. It's just astronomical. The acceleration is 4.63 million meters per second squared. I mean, that number is so huge, it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around. Just look at this comparison. The car, it's feeling just a tiny fraction of Earth's gravity. The ultracentrifuge, on the other hand, is experiencing an acceleration almost 500,000 times stronger than gravity. The forces inside that thing are just wow. And that's exactly why these machines are so critical for science and medicine.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. We've defined centripetal acceleration, we've looked at the math, and we've seen just how powerful it can be. Let's recap the most important takeaways and then look at one really cool idea for the future.
So, here's what you really need to remember. We've got our main formula, the v squared over r. One, just so you know, there's another version that uses what we call angular velocity, or omega. That's basically just a measure of how fast it's spinning. But either way, they both tell you the same key things. The direction is always pointing to the center, and we measure it in meters per second squared.
And this all connects to a much bigger idea. I mean, Newton's laws, right? Newton told us that acceleration can't just happen on its own. It needs a force. So this center-seeking acceleration must be caused by a real center-seeking force. For the car, that's the friction between the tires and the road. For a ball on a string, it's the tension in the string. Now, that's a whole other topic, but it's the logical next piece of the puzzle. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If this same acceleration can push you against a car door, and it can create forces hundreds of thousands of times stronger than gravity in a lab, couldn't we use it? Imagine a giant spinning space station. Could we spin it at just the right speed so that the centripetal acceleration on the outer wall feels exactly like the 9.8 meters per second squared we feel right here on Earth? Could we create our own artificial gravity for astronauts? Well, the physics says absolutely.